Good afternoon. Now we are going to discuss Unit 5, process in conducting research. But the focus is going to be given to qualitative research. So process in conducting qualitative research, that is one we are going to study. So for framing the quantitative research, or you can say for conducting a quantitative research, what are all the process we need to follow. The previous one we discussed its preparation of research proposal. Now we are going to move exactly, since we prepared the research proposal, how we are going to implement our research proposal. That is one Unit 5 is going to tell us. So there are learning objectives. End of the sessions, you are expected to understand the research process. I hope you understand the research process, since you already learned the research process in detail in your quantitative study. There are 12 to 13 steps or the process are there, starting with research problem to writing dissemination of research reports. You can able to recollect, but that is not going to imply completely in qualitative. Certain process not needed in qualitative. That's the one you are going to study. But generally, research process is same, but slightly modified from quantitative to qualitative. What are all the things are going to be modified in qualitative? We will see. Then you are going to expose various steps, especially the steps which necessary for qualitative, you are going to be exposed. For qualitative, there is no need for going with hypothesis testing. But research design, it's common. Under research design, you are not going to do any hypothesis testing. Instead of going with the problem statement, we are going with the rational. Even within the rational, you are going to make a theory of change. So slight differences are there. So you now, at the end of the unit, you can able to distinguish yourself from qualitative research process to quantitative research process. So you are going to understand, and also you are going to expose, and also able to distinguish yourself from qualitative research process to quantitative research process. So the process of designing qualitative study, there is no ideal or common process or agreed process available in qualitative study. Don't take it negatively. It means any researcher, they can frame or they can make their own research process. So it's flexible. Qualitative design, it's flexible. That is why there is no common process or agreed process available in qualitative study. But quantitative study, you can able to say the process supposed to go from the beginning problem statement to dissemination. It is clearly laid out. The several authors were given that one. But in quantitative, it depends upon the practitioner or depends upon the researcher. The research process can be varied. For me, I am saying you can start from review of literature. But in quantitative study, it is not possible to say like that. But in qualitative study, I can able to say you should do review of literature first, then you can do rest of the thing. I can able to change. That is why the qualitative study, it's more flexible according to the needs of the researcher as well as the field reality. So it's widely accepted. There is no common process available, agreed process available, but it can be flexible to start from anywhere. Since it is a scientific inquiry, since qualitative is also a scientific inquiry, so qualitative study is also should follow certain procedure. So basic procedure only now we are going to see. This basic procedure can be started at any time it can be changed. So any scientific inquiry should have a issue or problem. So you need to find out what problem you are going to study or what issue you are going to study. So that's a basic one. So if you are going to study poverty, means you can explain the poverty from your problem statement, or from your rationale you are going to explain your issue or your problem. Then what issue you are proposing, it needs to be examined through literature review. So related to the issue you are going to study, it is going to be further examined through literature review. Once you finish the literature review, then you create your own research questions. In between, there is a big process is there in quantitative, but here straight away, once you finish the literature review, you are going with the questions. Then based on the questions, you are gathering data and analyzing the data. So after analyzing the data, you are going to write the report. This is the common procedure that followed in qualitative. Since it is qualitative, is also acknowledged as a scientific inquiry. So qualitative is also following certain basic level of sequencing, from issues, examining literature, posing questions, gather data, analyzing data, and writing a report. This is the minimum level of process. But there are aspects you need to give importance. The previous slide, we are just discussing the minimum level of process. That minimum level of process, we need to give priority within that minimum level. We need to give certain aspects need to be strengthened, or certain aspects needs to be given much importance. For example, the several aspects of qualitative study vary from study to study as to the amount of detail developed by the researcher. Even within the qualitative study, the process we explained in previous slide, it can vary from study to study because of the much detail is going to be developed by, much detail is going to be collected by the researcher, will tell you which one is going to be given much importance. So for example, you can stance on the use of literature review vary widely as to the stance of using prior theory. For example, I wanted to go with, if you are doing action research, I want to go with the literature review first. But somebody can say you can start with the theory. So you can either using induced or diffused method, you can create a theory, or you can check existing theory. You can before starting a review of literature, you can go from there. You can start, but it depends upon the context, the interest of the researcher. Either you can go with the starting with the problem, or reviewing the problem, depending upon the researcher's point of view. Another consideration in qualitative research is writing format. That is more or less the weightage in the research process, qualitative research process. More weightage were given to writing report. More weightage must be given to writing report, because the writing report, it varies considerably from scientific oriented approach to storytelling and on the performances. It is not like giving importance to scientific way of writing a report. If that one, it's quantitative, is more on going as a scientific way of writing report. But in qualitative study, it gives importance to narrate the story, or describing the problems, or giving much importance to putting the more explanations. That's why it's saying it's not, it give only less importance to scientific oriented approach, but it can give more importance to storytelling kind of approach. It's trying to explore the problem in a wider way, or it can describe the problems using several references. So the how you are starting the process, where you are starting the process is much more important than how you are writing the report. How much weightage you are giving for writing a report will tell you which area you need to give focus. So within a qualitative study, there are characteristics you can able to understand. If you are understanding if you want to do a good qualitative study, you need to understand the characteristics of qualitative approach. So there are the characteristics you need to keep it in your mind, because the research, um, the qualitative research, it implies rigorous data collection process. Even day for yesterday we discussed how much time you are spending in the field. That will show your quality of data. So the entire research process, it implies a rigorous data collection process. The researcher himself or herself, they are directly involved in data collection process. But in quantitative, you can imply the team of data collectors. But in qualitative, as a researcher, you are the one supposed to lead the process. You are the one supposed to be the facilitator. You are the one supposed to guide the team, because all the instruments were going to be developed by you. So this, even implementations, you need to spare with the team. So the research, the qualitative research implies rigorous data collection process. Then this research frames the study within the assumption and characteristics of qualitative approach to research. Even the entire the frame, the research frame, the based on the assumption and the characteristics of qualitative approach you are doing. Then the researcher uses an approach to qualitative inquiry, either one of the five approaches you studied already, either maybe a case study or phenomenology or grounded theory or ethnography or narrative study. So the researcher can apply any type of approach. Even today, I got a discussion with one of my friend from Chiksika University. I bought the Irgu yesterday. Then I explained him. Then he asked me about the characteristics of this community. That time only it was striking me. The same kind of community in Zambia. They are called Tonga. Here they called Borona community. But both of their traditional occupation is cattle herding or keeping cattle. That is their traditional occupations. That time something strike me. I told him, maybe I can think about to do a realistic ethnography about these two communities. Donga community, they can be compared, because in that side in Zambia, they are one of the strongest community. If you say Easterner, it means Donga. They have a strong the informal economy is controlled by Dongas, because they have a lot of wealth in terms of cattle. So that shows a lot of they never go for any fight. Even so many infight going on, Tongas never go for any infight. I need to find out the same characteristics available for these people or not. So that's ethnography study. So the researcher uses an approach to qualitative inquiry. Either there are five approaches are there. He can choose any approach, either case study or phenomenology, grounded theory or ethnography or narrative study. Each approach will vary. Certain approach there is no need. If you are writing, if you are making a report related to narrative study, there is no need for going on a review of literature. Narrative study, it never asks you to do any review of literature. Phenomenology, it will mostly it goes with in-depth interview. That's one of the most important tool for ethnography. So each of the approach will vary. So you need to understand the characteristics of each of these approaches. Accordingly, you can able to frame the research process. The researcher begins with a single focus, but on B show a comparison of groups or factors or themes, as in the case study projects or ethnography. I told you I bought Irgu there. Then when I look at the Irgu, we were talking about Irgu. Then finally we end up with comparing Tonga to Borona, because it's an unique character. Whichever the culturally unique characters are there, then a case study is going to be the effective tool. So you can think about particular aspects, but it can be at any time. It can be, you can in the best quality of qualitative research is to, you can able to compare qualitative with the other approach. So even you can start with a single problem. Either you can describe this problem, or you can able to compare the problem with some other same relevant problems. So at any stage, you can able to change your methodology. That's what this point is saying. You are starting with a single problem. Maybe you can add more problem when it comes from the field, or you can compare the problem from other side, or within the same side. You can able to compare. The design is flexible. It can accept. It can inculcate the upcoming issues. So the researcher begin with a single focus, but on the but and be the so and the compare, you can able to compare the group or factors or themes as in the case of study project or ethnographies. So the studies include detailed methods, the rigorous approach to data collections, data analysis, and report writing. This is the core of qualitative research. So qualitative study, it includes detailed methods, rigorous approach to data collections, as well as data analysis and report writing. These four aspects are very much common, very much positive factor in qualitative study. The researcher analyzes the data using multiple levels of abstractions. For example, you can develop multiple themes that can be combined into larger theme or perspective, or layer their analysis from particular to the general one. So you have when you are doing an analysis, you have lot of scope. You can keep single theme. That single theme can be relate with the general themes, or it can be single theme can be compared with the other theme, or you can club the themes. So several options you can able to find it from qualitative study. The researcher writes persuasively so that the reader's experience being there. The writing is clear, engaging, full of unexpected ideas. When you are writing a report, qualitative report, the writing should be in a simple language. It should be clear. It should be engaging the audience. It should be sometimes engaging the audience. Those who are reading the report, they themselves part of the book or part of the report, or it's supposed to go with the full of unexpected ideas. You never pre-assumed about the report. It is going to be unexpected one. So the researcher should write the report based on he need to consider who is going to read. So based on the reader, he is going to take them as part of the research journey. So whatever he saw from the field, he is going to narrate. He is going to reflect the field experiences in his report. That makes the readers to travel along with the researcher. That is the beauty of the qualitative research. Then the study reflects history, culture, and personal experiences of the researcher. Researcher also have a scope of explaining something which he felt necessary. There is a scope to express his own views also along with the community views. Then the qualitative research in a good study in terms of considering ethical issues, because it involves more than simply the researcher seeking and obtaining the permission of institutional review committee or board, because you are taking participant as one among the researcher. Even you are beginning a simple exercise. What you are doing, I'm expecting these things from you. That is the way you are doing your data collection. Today we are going to discuss about this one. I am expecting this response from you. This is my question. I need to get answer from you. Are you going to give answer or not? This is the way we are initiating the dialogue with the participants. So that itself, you are what you are doing in your practice. You are doing ethical considerations. You are considering them as a human beings. You are getting approval from them on the spot. So that's when you are keeping these characteristics in your mind, you can able to apply qualitative research effectively. Yeah. Hmm. You can able to reflect from your own experience also when you are writing a report. that time you can show your you can also one among the contributor at some level, not everything. Certain approaches allow you to express your views as a researcher. So there are questions for discussion. How can be the problem statement be best written to reflect one of the approaches to qualitative research? Maybe, for example, if you want to do a case study, how you are going to frame your problem statement, or how you are going to write your rationales for case study approach or narrative study approach. Maybe you select one qualitative approach, write problem statement. That's the first question. Then the second question, how can the purpose statement be best written to convey orientation of an approach? How can a central question to be written so that it encodes the pseudo and the approach of the qualitative research? Just try to make some questions according to the research you wanted to conduct. So how can you sub questions presented presented so that they reflect the issues being explored in an approach to qualitative research? So how the most of the questions, how you are going to generate your questions for particular research approach. There are 3 assignments. Consider how you would write about the research problem or issues in your study. State the issues in a couple of sentences, then discuss the research literature that will provide evidence for a need for studying the problem. Finally, within the context of one of the 5 approaches to research, what rationale exists for studying the problem that reflects your approach to research? So you need to write a problem statement or issue for your study, then you do literature review for supporting your research problem, then you select a appropriate theme, appropriate approach. Out of 5, you are going to select one approach. Then why you are choosing that approach is relevant to your research study. You need to give concrete information. For the above study, you are designing or writing a central question for your approach to research using the guideline in this chapter for writing a good central questions and using words that encoded the questions within your approach. Once you finish that one, if you want to do second assignment, you frame the questionnaire, you frame the central questions. Maybe for related to your research problem, you try to come up with the central questions, key questions. Then write 5 to 7 issues, issue-oriented sub-questions, and 5 to 7 procedural sub-questions in your approach to inquire your proposed study. Maybe you can 5 to 7 issues. You can come up, write the questions, and also type of study. You can anyway you can come up. That's all. Small unit.